This is the first time I've been to your group.
Okay, welcome.
6 weeks ago, I found out that I had a malignant tumor in my lymph system.
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks ago, I found out that it had spread substantially. And 2 days ago, I found out I had AIDS. I need to hear a lot of what all of you are saying, and there's a lot of people in this room that are friends of mine.
Great.
I've been just real petrified to bring this out and to talk about it.
Good.
I think that what watching the Early Frost program did for me on Monday night was it made me face what I wasn't really willing to face. And the last couple days has been a lot of research in how I want to do this or how I can do this. Not through chemotherapy and not through radiation and not through a lot of goddamn medication. You know, I really think I want to live.
You know, we're not limited by the medical opinion. It depends whether we choose to do that or not. I think it's a terrible shame that at the moment the medical community is telling everybody that they have to die, because it's just not true. We know that that's not true. There are plenty of boys that are doing very well. You know, we can either buy into the fear or we can not buy into the fear. Each of us have doors that are closing, and for each door that closes, new doors open. And see in front of you a new door, and see the light behind it. And while you may not know exactly what that door holds, we know that it is wonderful experiences. For we move out of the darkness of the past into the future and into the light. We love and support ourselves and each other, and we know we are safe, for it is only change. We are safe. It's only change. We are willing to learn and grow. We are willing to see life in a new and different way. For we truly love and appreciate the beings that we are. We are divine, magnificent expressions of life. And it is our birthright to be fulfilled in every area. And so it is.
So it is.
Good evening. Hello. I'm Louise Hay, and welcome to another hayride. Yes, how wonderful. Okay, how many people are here for the first time? Oh, quite a lot. Okay. We don't, I don't heal anybody. That's not what I do. I just provide a space where we can uncover how absolutely wonderful we are. And many people find that they are able to heal themselves. And this is very heartwarming to all of us. I started out in January of this year with 6 men with AIDS in my living room, and look where we are today. And I think it's wonderful. I'm really very pleased. And we've grown and changed and all learned a tremendous amount.
About 4 months after my diagnosis, I was at a meeting for AIDS, a medical meeting out at USC. And somebody was standing up talking about he'd been to Louise Hay's group. And this guy was covered in lesions. And he had so much anger. And he was up there denouncing Louise, saying it was just a bunch of people who got together and sang songs, and there wasn't any medical benefit from it. Well, I took that as a catalyst for finding out more about it. So 2 days later, I called up I looked her up in the phone book. I called the office. I got the address, and I went for my first meeting. And I walked into this room, and I immediately recognized two people that I knew very well. One that I had heard with AIDS who had died, and there he was in the flesh, looking very well. And another acquaintance of mine that I did not know had AIDS. And I walked into this room, and lo and behold, here was this woman who told me, well, you have the right to like yourself. You have the right to love yourself. You're good, you're whole. All the things that I'd been wanting to hear from my parents and family, all these years. So I immediately took to this idea of loving yourself, supporting yourself, because that was basically what I was doing with my whole approach to this disease that everyone kept telling me is fatal, you die, no one ever recovers. When you're bombarded with that from the news media on all levels, constantly, a person comes along like Louise, or a group like this group who support you and say, yes, I know you can get well. Yes, I know you can survive this, overcome this, and even achieve greater health than you've ever known before.
I was diagnosed 2 weeks ago, and I've refrained from telling too many people because as large as Los Angeles is, I do work in this community, and I was just holding back to tell too many people. But the way I feel about it is that with everything else in my life, I've held back and closed down, and it's time to stop and to be afraid of possibly any of this getting back to where I work or perhaps gossip. It doesn't make any difference. And I feel that so many wonderful things have happened in my life in the last 2 years I can't begin to tell you, and this is only another big door opening for me. And I never thought that I would have to deal with this. I absolutely thought that it wouldn't touch me. And, of course, I've had terrible thoughts in the very beginning of, I could just see my mother, everyone abandoning me, and I would end up in my mother's guest room, and she's the only one that would take care of me in the end. That's where it took me. And through somehow coming here, and the people that are in this room that have shown their love, and my responsiveness and the willingness for me to receive it and give back, I don't know. I feel probably more wonderful than I ever have in my entire life. I'm dealing with a lot of the visualizations and listening to your tapes in the morning and the evening, and Louise has helped me quite a bit. And, watching my diet and doing all the positive things that I'm learning slowly to do. I have treated my body badly for a long time, and slowly I'm taking those steps to change those things, and it's a slow process.
Your body will appreciate it.
And
a lot. When you're talking about the disease called AIDS, I find that we're really dealing mostly with people who have a lot of self-hatred. They feel that they're not good enough. There's a lot of resentment, usually towards their families or towards societies. And very often there has been a lifestyle that has been very abusive for the body. They've not taken loving care of themselves. And when this gets turned around, healings take place.
Everything that's going on here tonight is real important for me. I thought I had some answers before I came. I thought I knew that if I did certain things, I'd be okay. I thought that I wouldn't get this because I was going to be careful or whatever, or I'd just be lucky, or I didn't give a shit. I got it. And hearing people talk about being alive, about living, is what I need to hear. I need to hear you say that you're alive and you're getting well and you're willing to be alive. I've shut down. Only 3 days, the hysteria was supreme. I was wacko. I was gone.
That's the time to have the hysteria right away. And then when you get that over with, then you can get to work.
I did it. I did it.
Sure.
there's still some fear.
Of course.
There's
Of
still some
course
fear.
there is. That's normal and natural. And you're in the right place. And we do a lot of networking here, and you're going to get lots and lots of advice and help when this is over. You watch. Everybody will come to you.
I want to thank you also for being here. Thank you.
One, when gets diagnosed, has to understand that there needs to be a change in your life, a 360-degree change in your life, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. It's a time when one has to do this. You have to start the basic processes of letting go of fear, letting go of anger. You have to start forgiving yourself and your family and your friends and the world around you. And again, the key would be unconditional love towards oneself. It can be difficult and might be very difficult at the beginning, like for myself. I spent 7 months understanding who I was and how to love oneself, but I got off the drug use and I got away from alcohol. I focused most of my attention towards positive people, letting go of the negative friends that I associated myself with, and all of a sudden little miracles started to happen.
People that are getting well are the ones who are really taking responsibility for their health and doing a lot of work. I mean, Louise, who is this wonderful example, used to spend an hour and a half to 2 hours a day doing visualizations, and very few people will take that time for themselves. And it paid off. He got the idea somewhere that if he could do the work, he would get well. And so he did the work, and he got well. And he's Superman now and all over the place.
People often ask me, in their more morbid moments, do you know who you caught AIDS from? And I tell them, yeah. And they ask, well, who? And I tell them, from myself. And that kind of blows them away. And then I have to explain that it was my lifestyle, my thought patterns, my behavior, the environment that I created for myself that set up all of the conditions for AIDS. And then the virus came along and finished the job. It's sort of like a pistol. I loaded the gun, and then the virus just came along and pulled the trigger. And that really disturbs a lot of people when they hear me say that. But then I remind them that this is actually very empowering, because if I could actually give myself AIDS, well, take it one step further, and I can take it away.
I'm a nurse by profession, and I got out of the nursing field about 6 years ago because I couldn't deal with sickness and things like that. Then I got into the health field, worked at Gold's Gym for a while, and then I came to the Jim Morris Club. And I've been there for almost 3 years, and I was ecstatic. Here I was, the only woman with 1,500 men. And I've made a lot of friends there, and I've had a lot of good times and a lot of good adventures and a lot of things I'd like to share with a lot of other people in this world to try to get rid of some of the misconceptions that straight people have about gays. And then along came the AIDS crisis. As of right now, I've lost 18 friends to the disease, and it hurts. It hurts awful. Never gets easier. The Louise Hay group met at the athletic club for about a month, and because of my work schedule, I was never able to get in before the room was so crowded, and then I couldn't fit in, so. Anyway, now there's a bigger space, and I'll be here as much as I can. The thing that I've learned most through all of this is love and compassion and care for one another. Doesn't make a bit of difference if you're gay or black or white or blue or green. Just love one another. And I felt that love when I'd be sitting behind the desk and I'd hear you in there chanting and singing your songs. That love would just float right out of that room and engulf me, and that's why I'm here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's true, there is a lot of pain. However, if we sit here and just play Ain't It Awful, we're not going to make changes. We're not going to do anything positive. So we have to go beyond that. We have the power to make the changes as we use our minds and make different choices.
We're going to see a real advancement of the health of AIDS people. You know, as time goes by, just in my own self, I was so sick at one time, and now I'm healthy. You know, it's like the pendulum has gone both ways, and it's like a miracle. And I go to visit my nurses, and they're all so glad to see me, and they all are so amazed because most people that are as bad as I was just aren't here anymore.
About 7 or 8 years ago, I was diagnosed as having cancer myself, and I realized that I was being given a chance to do some work on myself, to do the same sort of thing that I had been working with other people. At first, I went into total panic, but I realized that I had worked with other people and had helped them to work through their cancers, so certainly I could do it with my own. And I also realized that I really needed to go inside and clean up a lot of old resentment, that it was time really to work on forgiveness, because I knew that cancer comes from a mental pattern of having a lot of resentment about the past and also having a lot of feelings of not being good enough. And so I did my own work and my own struggle to dissolve those feelings, and that, I think, has helped me a lot to help other people too. The thing that I feel that I do the most good on really is helping people release guilt and shame, because that's such a bummer. And if we can let that go, it's a lot easier to love ourselves. You know, I talk about loving the self all the time, over and over again. It's the only thing I really teach anyone. And people are always saying, well, how do you love yourself? How do you do this? So Gisela and I put together a little list, and I'd like to share it with you. Loving the self, to me, the very first thing is stop all criticism. Stop criticizing yourself for anything, ever. Stop criticizing other people. Just drop it. Begin to accept yourself, particularly as you are right here and right now. You're perfect as you are right now. And yes, of course, you're going to change. However, if you're going to beat yourself up, the changes will be negative. If you can accept yourself lovingly, the changes will be positive. Second thing is, don't scare yourself. Stop scaring yourself. How often do you choose to think thoughts that literally terrify you? Right? That's not loving. Stop it. Just stop doing it. When you're doing that, it's always good to have 2 or 3 subjects that you really like. Create for yourself some subjects that you like, things that you really love. For instance, I happen to adore yellow roses. And when I start to go off on a trip, I immediately say yellow roses, and I bring myself back to seeing a beautiful yellow rose bush that grows outside my door, experiencing yellow roses. I do a whole number on yellow roses, because you can't think of 2 things at once. And if I'm really concentrating on yellow roses, I can't go into that negative thought. Now, it may be a piece of music for you. It may be a gorgeous day. It may be an experience that you have had. But select for yourself 2 or 3 scenes or subjects so that when you find yourself going into the scaring yourself routine, you can say, no, yellow roses, or whatever are yellow roses for you, and really concentrate on that. And to begin with, you may have to do that a lot, and you will train your mind to go into another direction. The other thing is to be gentle and kind and patient with yourself. Don't expect yourself to learn it all in one day. Be patient with where you are. You are doing the best you can with the understanding and awareness that you have right now. So be patient. You are where you are, and this is it. You're not there, you're here. Be kind to your mind. Be accepting of your thoughts. If there are thoughts that you choose not to think anymore, you don't have to get angry about it. And when they come up, you can just say, no, I don't want to think that anymore. I'd rather think about yellow roses or whatever is important to you. Praise yourself. Praise yourself a lot. You've been putting yourself down, you've been berating yourself. Now, not all of you and not all the time, but all of us have a tendency to do that. We're raised with negative conditioning, and we think that if we criticize ourselves and scold ourselves, we're going to behave or get where we want to go or motivate ourselves. But we don't have to do that. Praising ourselves will do much, much more. Support yourself. Really support yourself in what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. And if you find that difficult, have some support buddies. Be willing to reach out. Just because your father may have been a big macho man and wouldn't ask anybody for help, doesn't mean that you have to be that way. None of us are capable of doing it all by ourselves all the time. We all have areas where we're really dynamite, and we have areas where we just can't do it maybe ever, or can't do it right now. You know, the silly things, too, like checkbooks. I finally acknowledge that I cannot do my checkbook. I will never do my checkbook. I am not a bad person because I do not do my checkbook. I reach out and let somebody else do my checkbook. There are also times when we're going through experiences where we need some help. And a lot of us have a tendency to say, well, I can do that myself. And then we make ourselves wrong for not doing it. Get yourself a support buddy. Reach out. You know, the AA people do this all the time. You make a phone call, you reach out, you have somebody who'll call you up and say, did you do so-and-so today? You know, do that for yourself. It's an act of loving yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your body. This is a loving act. If you don't know anything about nutrition, if you were raised on junk foods, if you live on nachos and Twinkies and Coca-Cola, learn something about what good fuel is for your body, what your body needs. You know, you wouldn't put Coca-Cola and Twinkies in your automobile and expect it to run very well. And yet the stuff that we put into this magnificent machine that is the temple of our bodies are amazing. And especially if you're not feeling well, you need every single bit of good fuel that you can to nourish your cells. So take care of your body. Find exercise that you enjoy. And feed yourself good food. And do mirror work. Do mirror work. It is so powerful. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Not to scold yourself, but to love yourself. To love yourself.
The third year has been probably the most incredible year of my life. Working with people like Louise and other people in the group has taught me so much about myself and about other people, and how important it is to be supported, how important it is to be loved, to love myself. It's really been an incredible experience. The first 2 years that I had AIDS, there were times when I would just scream at God, you know, why me? Stop this. I don't need this. And this past year, it's been well, okay. You know, I'm getting the message, and it's okay.
I've been working with Louise for 15 months now, ever since I was diagnosed with Kaposi sarcoma. And one of the things I'd read Louise's book and heard the tape and done a lot of reading, and I'd put together a lot of knowledge, and I was doing a lot of inner work for a while, and I thought I'd handled fear once and for all. And what I learned, God, did I ever learn it, is that I have to work daily on that, because it just creeps up, and then it starts mounting up higher and higher and higher, and it gets more and more difficult to deal with. And I just recently went to New York and participated in the New York Marathon, and then went to Paris on vacation, and I couldn't enjoy my vacation, really. I mean, I had a few good times, but I was so scared, and I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know who to talk to. It was something else. And I came back, and yesterday went over to Louise's, and it was one of the great days of my life. I went upstairs to Louise, and I said,
I'll tell you, I need some help. And I'll tell you, that was a big one for me because my dad was the macho man, too, who said, I can do it myself. And I learned that one real well. And it was real hard to open up and say, I want some help, and I really need some help. So Louise had me go in the other room and sit down by the mirror. And the mirror, that's another thing. The mirror is the one thing that is difficult for me to do. And so I've made a commitment, and Louise actually asked me to find 2 people to support me, in doing mirror work and meditation and all that. And I've got 2 people, which is very exciting, and they're supporting me. But the thing that really surprised me today when I was doing my mirror work was that I cut through about 10 feet of fear, just cut right through it. And for the first time in months, I was really with myself and comfortable and loving and relaxed and glad to be with myself and not thinking how I could escape, and turn on the TV or, get busy doing work. It was wonderful just to be there with myself. So I am one who says, yes, mirror work works. And thank you.
I think the medical profession does very good work in many areas. I think there's some areas that they don't really understand what is going on. And the work that I do with the boys is really in conjunction with what they do with their medical doctors or their nutritionists or their homeopathic doctors or whoever they're working with. It's an adjunct. It's something that goes with. It's not just instead of.
I'm Max, and I'm from New Orleans, and I'm here to be a part of Louise's 5-day intensive on AIDS. I wanted to share something with you which to me is both amazing and amusing, because when I was what most people would call well, I was ill, and I was very unhappy. And since I've gotten AIDS, it's been an invitation. Since I've been diagnosed with it, to me it's been an invitation to enlightenment and to discover love, to be able to accept love from so many people, to find the value in friendships. And don't be afraid of your friends' reactions. Everybody wants to go to heaven, they say in New Orleans, but nobody wants to die. And, and so I'm not speaking in cliches, but if you're going to let your imagination get the best of you, don't let it go the route of fear. I mean, make sure it gets the best you have to offer. There's nothing to be afraid of. And the mind and love can overcome anything.
This is a great time of learning for everyone on the planet. We get to choose between the so-called dark forces or the light. And I think that AIDS has turned out to be a very positive thing in the life of many people. Even people who have cancer, who have then come through it and come to the other side, have often said that cancer is one of the most positive things that ever happened in their life because it enabled them to change directions. And I see that happening over and over again with AIDS. People are changing the direction and really creating a much more positive life than they had before they had the disease.
First of all, I'd like to thank Louise for sharing her life with everybody that needs her so much. She gives a lot of love. And you can't keep it unless you give it away. And we have to give it back to one another, or else it just won't keep going around. We got to keep it moving. And you just have to not be afraid of the other people that are afraid. That was my biggest problem, was removing myself from the ones that have chosen another route. And their route's okay for them, but it's not okay for me. And this is where I want to be. And I'm getting well. And I'm going to share that with as many people as I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, what's sort of wonderful is that I've seen some of the boys do have the medical profession writing out things that say that they no longer have AIDS. The medical profession as a whole doesn't like to do that yet, because according to their rules, AIDS is not curable. So it's hard for them to agree that somebody can come through it and have remission. I mean, even with cancer, they don't really like to say that. But yes, some of the boys are definitely getting remissions, and they have medical proof to substantiate it.
The documentation the medical community has offered me was that they took a biopsy of my lesion after a year and a half of certain different alternative treatments that I've had, and they have come to the conclusion last October 1984 that my KS lesion was a bunch of dead scar tissue. At that point, they began to understand that the virus was not growing in my body, and that I somehow, some way, my immune system had responded to a lot of the treatment that I was doing for it and was able to get rid of this Kaposi sarcoma cancer lesion.
You know, a lot of people in this room have heard me talk and share a lot, and it's like sometimes I get the impression is that confused kid talking again about, you know, he doesn't know where he stands and where he's at. Well, that's true. I haven't known where I stood and where I was at. And for the longest time, I've tried to, a couple of years ago, I got diagnosed with ARC, and then 6 months after that, I got diagnosed with bone marrow cancer, and then an opportunist arose, and then it went away. And I've sort of been in limbo since then, and that's been over a year and a half ago now. And I don't know why I keep coming back to you, because between Wednesday nights I say I don't belong here. But I do belong here because I have all of the fear that everybody has. And I realized, and one time I was in the hospital and you came to see me and you said, if you get some kind of definite diagnosis now, what is it in your life that you're not going to have to face? And I think I gave you some kind of answer like, I don't know. But since then, in the last couple of months, it's everything. I won't have to face anything else. And that's the way I've been since I was a little kid, you know. And I have been constantly trying to find out. I've been having real symptoms. I have doctors and T-cell panels to back it up, and even bone marrow biopsies to back it up and all that stuff. And I've been trying to figure out, what am I dying of? Today I just want to find out what I'm living for and not what I'm dying of. You've let me find out all of these things about myself, how I've not been the kind of guy, how I've beat myself up in so many different ways. But at the same time, you just let me keep finding out. And you're letting me find out how much there is to love, too. And you've told me so many times that how we come out of that a lot of times when we're 18 or 19, when we start coming out to ourselves, whether it's sexually or just young adulthood or whatever, that we tend to go in the closet spiritually. Mm-hmm. Well, I have done that because my father's like a Southern Baptist minister, and I have been very confused, and he's also a closeted gay person. Mm-hmm. And I've been repeating all kinds of destructive relationships and health patterns, and just the opposite of a Patti LaBelle attitude. I mean, just horrible. You know what I mean? And I am willing today that I realize how you've helped me to realize that I have to come back out of the closet spiritually. And I have to let that side of me agree with my public side, with my sexual side. I have to let it be in harmony with everything I do. Even if it's not choosing a good attitude that day, I have to let it be in harmony with that too, so I can get through with it. And there's been a lot of friends that I've known here that have died, that have not done
left the
well.
planet, yes.
And at the same time, they have chosen that, you know. And I'm still maybe in limbo about a diagnosis of any kind. But what I am positive about today is that I do choose to live today, and I choose to find out what all there is to love so I can help other people with it.
Thank you. And when you talk, Tom, you talk for a lot of people. You're not the only person. And you know, the thing is that if you're looking for a savior, and I know a lot of people here are looking for a savior, the place to look is right here in the mirror. Right here, honey. This is the Savior that you're looking for.
No.
What do you want to say to him?
I've looked at you so many times, and I've even told you. I've even told you that I wanted you to hurry up and die. Rather than admit. I just wanted I got too much pride or something.
Sound like your daddy.
To just ask. Just to ask to hold somebody's hand. I don't want you to die. And I don't want you to live so uncomfortable all by yourself.
Tell him it's okay to reach out.
It's okay to reach out.
Tell him it's safe to get well now.
It's safe to be well now. And you can do it just for yourself.
It's the only person to do it for.
You don't have to have the drama.
This is your Savior, honey. The only person who's going to save you. And it looks like a pretty wonderful person. Pretty powerful. Pretty capable. See, all that energy that you've turned negatively towards yourself, you can use that powerful energy and turn it in a positive direction. And really love this person.
I want to.
You have my permission. Reach out a hand. It's okay, darling. We all speak for each of us. You know, when anyone shares, we're sharing for all of us. And the mirror is a powerful place to work. A lot of you, I know, do mirror work all the time, and some of you have never seen mirror work before. But I suggest that we talk in the mirror a lot. First thing in the morning when you get up, go to the mirror and just say, I love you. What can I do for you today that will make you happy? And start to connect with yourself. Forgive yourself in the mirror. Talk to yourself. If you have someone else you need to forgive, you can forgive them. Talk to people that you're angry with or that you want to say I love you to and you don't know how to say it. Do it in the mirror. It's very satisfying to see people heal themselves. You know, it does my heart good to have people get their act together, to be healthy, to really feel good about themselves, to feel comfortable with prosperity and go off and live their life. And I've made a lot of wonderful friends out of people I've worked with.
I'm Gisela, and what I wanted to say about AIDS is with the counseling that I do and with the people that I see, sometimes it's very obvious that a choice was made many years ago. Sometimes it's not so obvious. And sometimes it's real difficult to understand and believe why and how come and why me and why this. The opportunity that is always present is that we can always choose again. And I think that's what this evening has been about for me and my experience of what everyone has shared. And I think the choices that were made here tonight and the courage that was displayed is absolutely overwhelming to me. And I support every one of you in coming out of your fear space and moving into your love space and owning that part of you that fits into the shoes and that pulls the pants up and that puts on the shirt and that has that heart so very ready and present. And bring that heart out and choose again, because I know we can make it.
It's time to do some healing work now. And as you know, we're now doing 3 healing circles each week. And Gisela has one and I have one. And what I would like to do with the 3rd circle is to rotate that, to have the person who is at the head of the 3rd circle be a rotating thing. So if any time you would like to lead the 3rd healing circle, come up to me and just let me know, because I want to share it with all of us. What we will do is we will do the healing work. We start with 3 ohms. We touch the person. If you're a Reiki person, if you're near to the body, please put your hands on the body in front of you. And the people in back of you can touch the people that are around you. And if you're in back and you can't touch somebody, then you can send healing energy like this. And if you don't know how to send healing energy, just send love. I think the message is really very simple. What we give out, we get back. So you don't want to give out negative things. What we believe about ourselves becomes true for us. And we need to love ourselves, because when we really do love and appreciate this beautiful being that we are, then we can't hurt ourselves and we can't hurt other people. And to me, that's the secret of life. It is very simple. It is too simple for some people, and yet it works. I have person after person after person who is a living testimonial that it works. Love is the most powerful healing force there is. And the pathway to love is through forgiveness. Forgive yourself first, so that you can forgive others. Free yourself. You deserve to be well. You deserve to heal. And so it is.
I absolutely feel that I am overcoming this disease, and every day that I am here shows me and shows the world that I am overcoming AIDS.
And I'd like you to continue to hold hands. Those of you who are new and don't know our song, you'll learn it by next time. Thank you. You can sit up if you want.
I love myself the way I am. Nothing I need to change. I'll always be a perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love you just the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, your rage and tears, I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. I love the world the way it is, but I can clearly see that all the things I judge are done by people just like me. So till the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring, I'll help it grow by loving everything. I love myself the way I am, and still I want to grow. Change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love myself just the way I am.
It's hug time, and we'll see you next week.
Let's get a sandwich.
Wake up to your own potential, realize how divine and magnificent you are, and realize you have the power to make changes. You are not stuck. You can begin to make changes by changing the way you think. And above all, go to the mirror and look in your eyes and say, I love you. I really, really love you. It'll work miracles.